It's Top 5 Tuesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely in the white cap. Yeah, the good guys wear white, So we are here in the Lee Company studios here on West 7th in Columbia, ready for a big show.
Top 5 Tuesday is going to be a big show, like you said, Mo. Pumped to get into it. Still kind of a lot to process from a big weekend, but no rest for the weary. And you and I have been here for the last hour getting prepped for the show, but also putting the pedal to the metal as far as what we got coming up, because today is kind of just the tip of the iceberg. It's going to be a big next couple weeks as we get things kind of off and running. Final day of April for everybody celebrating today.
It is the final day of April. So they don't call it May Madness, but perhaps they should. It's definitely coming. But yeah, big show today. In the second hour, as we almost always do on Tuesdays, we'll be visiting with the Blue Raider voice, Chip Walters, talking about all things MTSU. Looking forward to that. They've had a lot of transfer portal movement here that we kind of need to catch up on. And as we mentioned briefly yesterday, a big game for one of their baseball players last week. We'll kind of let Chip give us a little more insight into that as well. In the next segment, we will be joined by MLB.com's Thomas Harding, covers the Colorado Rockies for that platform. The Rockies and the Astros were down in Mexico City over the weekend. Want to get some input from him on, how Mexico City played, both on the field, in the stands, the whole 9 yards, but also the Rockies with some news that might be of interest to some area baseball fans. We'll get into that with @Harding_@_MLB in the next segment. Talking a little Braves. If you stayed up late, didn't go the way we would have liked, but it happens.
And Mo, last night my phone.
We were kind of wearing you out.
Well, I got do not disturb on after 9 o'clock, and so I saw the notifications coming in at first, and I saw what the texts were about.
But
I said, you know what? I know how these rules are supposed to go. I'm not saying anything. I'm steering clear of it, and
I'm just gonna go to sleep.
If I just screenshotted the text log, it kind of gave me the play-by-play of what happened last night.
Yeah.
So it was the highest of highest potential to as low as a regular season game in late April.
Exactly. Predators fighting for their postseason lives tonight as they go back out to Vancouver for Game 5. Down 3-1. Pretty unenviable position for the Preds.
Not great, but sir, as we talked with Ann yesterday, not out of the realm of possibility. The good news is you win tonight, obviously. You get back at home, which you have not had success at, but you get back home. Theoretically, you should have a little bit better measure of success there. So, and then, obviously, if you can win that one, it forces just winner take all. Just let it all hang out in Game 7 next over the weekend in Vancouver.
We'll talk a little bit more about that and talk a little bit more about the NBA playoffs. Another team is gone home. So we will touch on some of that during the grab bag segment in the second hour. And again, it's Top 5 Tuesday. And in light of Sunday's news of Candace Parker's retirement, we're going to touch on the top women's basketball players, top college or women's college basketball players. There we go. That's how we decided to phrase that. So Wade and I are going to give you our thoughts on that in the final segment of the day. So that's what the show looks like. And at this point, Wade, it's probably time to give yesterday's results, today's schedule.
I'm getting ready, folks.
Get loosened up.
Yep.
On the rundown.
This is the Rundown.
Is it me?
Rundown, kicking off, folks. I saw our Out of the corner of my eye, it said muted for a moment, and I didn't want to get halfway through our
And find
big
out that you
scoreboard
were.
here to find out we were muted. But let's kick it off, folks, in style. Baseball scores from last night. Here to report the following. Blackman 4, Hendersonville 3. Clarksville defeats Greenbrier 6-1. Columbia knocks off Page 7-6. Franklin Road Academy downing Columbia Academy 4-1 last night. Green Hill with a 9-0 win versus Dixon County. It was Forest 4, Murfreesboro Central Magnet 3. Friendship Christian 3, Clarksville Academy nothing. Gallatin 18-3 winners over McGavock. Providence Christian defeats Grace Christian Franklin 7-3 was your tally there. Hume Fogg puts up 16 runs. Downing Hunters Lane 16-1. It was Independence 7, Rockvale 5. Lawson knocks off East Nashville in a close contest. 3-2 was your final there. Another close contest last night as Mount Juliet defeats Upperman. Wilson Central squeaking by Oakland 3-2 was your final tally there. Riverdale 7-2 winners versus Centennial last night. Shelbyville knocks off Lawrence County 6-2. It was Siegel 13 blanking Summit. Nice shutout win for the Stars last night. 10-1 as Spring Hill knocks off Mount Pleasant. White House defeating East Robertson 9-4 in that contest. 10-0 was your tally between White House Heritage, who knocked off Joe Burns, and it was Franklin Road Christian 15, Zion Christian 10 to cap our baseball scoreboard from last night.
In softball action on Monday, Joe Burns with a 6-5 win over Blackman. Joe Burns punching up. Class 1A team taking down a 4A Lady Blaze squad. Cornersville with a 10-0 win over Culleoka. It was Eagleville 11, Moore County 1. Friendship Christian with an 18-0 win over Mount Juliet Christian. Station Camp blanks Hendersonville 2-0. Nolensville does likewise to Independence 7-0. Wayne County doubles up Lawrence County 4-2. Columbia Central with a 6-4 victory over Marshall County. McGavock downs Laverne 11-1. Mount Juliet Downs Beach 7-1. Mount Pleasant with a 6-4 victory over Perry County. It was Smyrna 15, Riverdale 5. Eagleville and Summertown, no score. That's interesting. Warren County with a 10-0 victory over Spring Hill. It was Zion Christian 9, Franklin Road Christian 1. Eagleville 0, Columbia Academy nothing. Okay. Anyway. Boys soccer action. Good Pasture with an 8-1 victory over Macon County. It was Friendship Christian and Nashville Christian playing to a 2-2 draw. Franklin edges Oakland 2-1, and it was Rockvale 2, Riverdale 0. Major League Baseball, the Seattle Mariners opened their 3-game series against the visiting Atlanta Braves with a 2-1 walk-off victory last night. And we'll say more about that later, but that's all we're going to say about it for now.
That's all that needs to be said
There
for
we go.
now. Well put, my friend. Baseball schedule for tonight, 4:30 games featuring Pearl Cone, who is traveling to East Nashville. Stratford is at Whites Creek, and Maplewood is at Antioch. 5 o'clock first pitches, between Hickman County at Richland. Joe Burns is at White House. 5:30 times tonight. You can see Liberty Creek at Springfield. Joe Burns at Stewart County. Grace Christian Franklin is at Columbia Academy. That game begins at 6 o'clock. Also at 6 tonight, it's Summertown at Giles County. Franklin Road Academy at Providence Christian. Cascade is at East Robertson. That game gets underway at 6:30. Also at 6:30 tonight, Loretto and Lawrence County will duke it out. Harpeth will be at Sycamore at 7 tonight, as will Martin Luther King at Cheatham County. And we do not have a start time listed, but we do have a schedule listing between Forest, who is tentatively scheduled to play at Eagleville. Check your local listings for your start time on that contest tonight.
Softball action this evening. 4:30, Hume Fogg travels to Pope Prep. At 5 o'clock, Nolensville is at Ravenwood. Rockvale hosts Riverdale. Spring Hill goes to Santa Fe. White House Heritage takes on visiting Springfield. Loretto is at Columbia Central. Lewis County goes to Culleoka. Hendersonville is at Greenbrier. Also, Summertown is at Green Hill at 5. Good Lord. I hope they're already on the road.
Yeah.
Franklin is at Independence at 5, and Clarksville is at Joe Burns. At 5:30, Blackman taking on visiting Franklin County. Also, Rossview is at Clarksville Northwest. Dixon County goes to Henry County. Overton hosting East Nashville. Fayetteville is at Mount Pleasant. Again, those are all. And also, there's more. Centennial is at Page at 5:30. East Robertson's at Station Camp. Christ Presbyterian goes to Wilson Central. Those are all 5:30 games. At 6, Cornersville hosting Giles County, non-district matchup. Zion Christian goes to Marshall County at 6. Oakland is at Siegel. Stewart's Creek hosts Eagleville. The Nashville Lady Knights go to Laverne. Again, those are all 6 o'clock starts. No times listed for Allen County, Kentucky at Westmoreland. Lipscomb Academy at Brentwood Academy. East Hickman at Cheatham County. Clarksville Christian at Clarksville Northeast. Gordonsville hosting Watertown. And Hickman County is at Harpeth.
Buckle up, folks. Whole lot of soccer ball being played tonight, beginning at 5 o'clock. Here's your schedule. Clarksville Northeast is traveling to Clarksville Academy. Marshall County will visit Columbia Academy. Brentwood Academy is at Franklin Road Academy. 5:30 kickoff tonight as Nashville Christian will visit Independence Academy. 6 p.m. showdowns. Dixon County is at Kirkwood. MBA will be at Lipscomb Academy tonight at 6 o'clock. Also, 6 p.m. kickoffs include DCA at Pope John Paul II. Lawrence County, who's at Richland this evening. Providence Christian is at Webb School. CPA traveling to White House. DeKalb County will welcome Murfreesboro Central Magnet tonight at 6. Also, capping our 6 o'clock window is Knowledge Academies, who is at Glencliff. At 6:30 tonight, John Overton is at Antioch. 7 p.m. window now. Green Hill at Blackman. Clarksville Northwest is at Clarksville. Zion Christian is at Columbia. If you get there just prior to 7 o'clock tonight, Mo, you can hear yours truly on the PA as Lincoln County will travel to Giles County tonight. Final non-district tune-up for the Bobcats as they get ready for the 8AA tournament coming up later this week. Lead Academy will be at Hendersonville at 7 o'clock tonight. Stewart's Creek is at Laverne. Fairview will travel to Montgomery Central. Siegel is at Nolensville. Warren County will be at Riverdale Beach, traveling to Station Camp. Rossview is at West Creek. Merrill Hyde is at White House. And at 7:15, it'll be Harpeth at Valor Collegiate.
7:15. Okay. Major League Baseball this evening, 7:10 first pitch as the Cleveland Guardians travel to Minute Maid Park, taking on the host Houston Astros. You can see it on SCHN. What is that?
Whatever that local affiliate is.
Space City.
Not Bally's, but whatever Houston's local
Space
is.
City something network. 8:40, again, take a nap. The Atlanta Braves still at Seattle. You can see it on the MLB network and on Bally Sports South. And here locally, 6:35, First Horizon Park. The Nashville Sounds open their 6-game series against the defending International League AAA champions, Norfolk Tides. We mentioned hockey. It's a 9 o'clock puck drop out at Vancouver as the Nashville Predators try to keep their postseason hopes alive in Game 5 of the opening round of the Western Conference Stanley Cup playoffs. That is your rundown. Story brought to you as always by Piggly Wiggly, the big pig over in Neely's Mill here in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch options as well as their hand-cut meats, and everything is cost plus 10 at the cash register, cost plus 10% at the cash register. There we go. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you today's top story. Former Tennessee big man Jonas Adu is now a Hog. Has landed at Arkansas with Coach Cal. So, staying in the conference. Interesting that he decided to leave. Interesting that he wound up at Arkansas, I think. This CBS Sports piece on the development, Matt Norlander refers to him as one of the best defensive big men in the country while playing under Rick Barnes, averaged 11.4 points, 7.3 rebounds, and 1.8 blocks on a 27-win Volunteers team that was a number 2 seed and made the Elite 8. Now, did not wrap things up at Tennessee so well because he was notably absent from the Creighton and Purdue contests. And I mean, I guess defense is his calling card, but still he averaged 11.5 points. But he wasn't much of an impact on either end of the floor in either of those ball games, and they really needed him to be.
Yeah, he went away down the stretch in those key moments. And so fascinating that he obviously ends up at Arkansas, and obviously a big get for Arkansas because they were kind of decimated, as we've talked about with Calipari's remarks when he kind of took over. So big get for Cal.
I met with their team.
Yeah.
There is no team.
There is no team. So kind of rebuilding from scratch. And if you're going to get a guy who's on that all-SEC defensive team last year, I mean, that's a solid little pickup to kind of kickstart. I'll be real curious to see how the finished product for this first year roster looks for Arkansas, because Cal, I think this time next year, we're certainly talking about a big variety of high-profile recruits and transfers that come in. But this year may not be quite the most talented. I think that he's potentially looking to bring in while he's there. So, but getting Adu is a solid piece, and it just seemed like from the moment the final buzzer went off in that Purdue game that he had quickly announced his intent to transfer, and then it seems like quickly lands in the SEC, which is always interesting how that plays out.
Yeah, also considered Baylor and North Carolina. Sources also said his NIL price was among the biggest of any big man in this year's portal cycle, which, if you're talking big NIL, then that explains a lot about how he wound up at Arkansas, because all indications are Cal's got the cash. So
yeah, free agency, as it were, playing out well for Cal, snagging a good commit here, and wouldn't be surprised, obviously, if that's the thing now, right? Is he's kind of chasing, being behind the game a little bit here, kind of chasing to see what kind of roster he can produce in a short amount of time. So big get, was a touted recruit, 4-star prospect in that 2021 class. Originally he was going to go to Marquette before he ends up at Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
And so other than the fading at the end, was a quality piece. And you could do worse than getting a pretty good rim protector as kind of your first big get for Cal. So I think it's a big get for Cal and for Arkansas to kind of kickstart their recruiting and rebuilding process.
Yeah.
Building process.
Building,
if
I
you will.
guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not even rebuilding.
He joins a Kentucky transfer, Zvonimir. I think I did pretty well on that. Ivisic, along with a trio of ex-Wildcat commitments. So Cal getting it back together, or getting it together, as you said, slowly but surely, as you kind of knew it would. So got a lot to work with, got plenty of roster flexibility, clearly. So we'll see how that goes, but you can expect Arkansas to be in the mix on a few other guys in the transfer / NIL portal, I would think. So
He last year, take this for what it's worth. He had a good game when he went to the Bud Walton Arena last year. 23 points and 12 rebounds in a double-double as they blasted Arkansas. So he's at least had a decent night when he's been in that building. So be very interesting to see what kind of role he ends up playing, because, yeah, that good rim protector, that's huge. Senior with 1 year of eligibility remaining for Coach Cal.
yeah, definitely be keeping an eye on that. When we come back to the Lee Company Studios here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by TOA of Columbia, we will be joined by 6'9" Thomas Harding of MLB.com, talking a little Major League Baseball. Stay with us.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today. Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Top 5 Tuesday continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Maurice Patton, Wade Neely, joining you here from the Lee Company studios in Columbia, and we are now joined via video chat by MLB.com's Thomas Harding. He is not actually 6'9". He is closer to maybe 5'8", but it's a long-held nickname for Mr. Harding, he's a big man in what he does. Let's just put it that way. But Thomas, thanks for taking some time with us, man. I know you've been racking up the frequent flyer miles with your trip down to Mexico City and back over the weekend. Worse ways to spend the weekend, I would think.
Yeah, much worse ways to spend the weekend. By the way, 6'9" does come from all those rosters you get where all those heights, all those weights, none of them are accurate. So why not be 6'9", right? Yeah, it was a great show, and a great show for Major League Baseball being in Mexico. And just from talking to people from the league office and people who have been involved in these type games, it's a different atmosphere in Latin America than it is, say, in England, which I think the Mets and Phillies are going to play there. At that one, most of the fans will come from New York and Philadelphia. They've already planned their trips and everything else. When you go to some of the Latin American countries, they have so much baseball knowledge. They're the ones who are in the ballpark. So you are literally in a ballpark where you have a lot of fans. And at that point, you had a lot of Houston Astros fans. Now, one of the journalists down there, he turned to me at the end of the event and he says, listen, I know that the Rockies were the home team. Not many people were cheering for them. But he goes, but if it were the Broncos and the Texans, there are a lot of Broncos fans in Mexico City. So I found that interesting.
That is interesting. Full disclosure, Wade is a Houston Astros fan, probably would love to have been there this weekend, but he's not taking a whole lot of solace out of the Astros sweep of the Rockies. Neither of these teams is playing particularly well right now. What did you see out of Houston over, the weekend that might give Wade some reason to believe over the next 4 or 5 months?
Well, first of all, I'll go back to last August. The Arizona Diamondbacks were at Coors Field. They were ready to give up on the season. They had lost a whole lot out of a whole lot. It was something like 24 out of 36. I can't remember what the number was. Rockies blew a couple of games late. They decided to, go out and beef up their bullpen, and suddenly the Arizona Diamondbacks were headed to the World Series. For the Astros, it's not even a miracle. First of all, Framber Valdez comes off the IL. Jose Urquidy is about to. They have some issues. Abreu is not swinging the bat well, but you look at that lineup, a lot of people are swinging the bats well, and their starting pitching starting to come together. When I see a team that good that is having a hard time driving in runners with scoring position, which they have all year, I just know it's going to turn around. It's funny when you talk to a lot of people that have been following the Astros, they're like, oh yeah, they beat the Rockies. But I think the way they beat them, with some power early in games, and they really pitched well, and it looks like their pitching's getting healthy, I'm not going to be shocked to see the Houston Astros in or close to the World Series.
Thomas, I'm curious, as you were down covering the games, you kind of gave a little bit of the sense of the flavor that was going on. Obviously, especially in the 12-4 game, we saw a lot of balls leaving the yard. That was kind of the big talk going into the series, was that the offenses would really kind of put on a show. But when I saw 8-2 in the second game, it seemed like that Sunday game that they kind of had figured things out. I'm just curious your takeaway. Why did we not see as many runs potentially come across, especially kind of like in that series we saw last year between San Francisco and San Diego?
I think that when a series or games turn into a home run contest, that's what you get. The problem was the Rockies didn't participate. I mean, on Sunday it was 8-2, it was 4-2 through 7 innings, but all of the Astros runs were on home runs. I don't think the Astros swung the bats particularly well that day. Austin Gomber pitched very well against them, but the Rockies certainly haven't swung the bats anywhere. Now, when I talked to Gomber after the game, he said that there is a decided difference there from Coors Field, where obviously at Coors Field, it's a different ball game. I mean, when teams come into Denver, they don't even lift weights after the games. They're like, just conserve your energy because the atmosphere is hard on you there. In Mexico City, Gomber said that's the first time in a long time he's felt winded on the mound. So it is different. I just think that those games, partly because the Rockies haven't hit with runners in scoring position, I don't think that they put up a huge fight. The Astros looked like they would come up with the hits if they needed them. But, you may be right about that, because going into this, the Astros really had trouble driving in runs. They really had trouble late in games. So we haven't seen that because the Rockies weren't close to them. But I just watching that team and just getting a feel for the confidence level of that team, it feels like they are ready to take off.
Yeah, and Thomas, you mentioned it, and we discussed a little bit on the show last week. Altitude, even a little bit of a challenge for Colorado. Kind of maybe shed a little more light on that. You mentioned Gobble kind of a little bit fatigued, a little bit winded, but was that prevalent throughout the team? I'm just curious how the trip at large kind of impacted the guys as far as their day-to-day goes, really even.
Well, it impacts you day to day. There's no doubt about it. A lot of headaches, a lot of people drinking a lot of water. You have to be hydrated. I'll just give a personal example of when I moved from Memphis to Denver. For the first month, my nose bled every night when I slept. But it turned out that I needed a humidifier in the room. I know that there was at least one person from Houston who had a nosebleed right there on the field. Not a player, but had a nosebleed right on the field during batting practice. So it affects your body in pretty much every way possible. I know when I was there, I had a bit of a headache, but being just 2,000 feet in altitude, less than Mexico City, it wasn't as difficult for me that it may have been someone who was used to being at sea level.
Absolutely. Now, I guess the most important question of all is how much street corn did you partake in while you were down there in Mexico City?
Well, I guess I don't know if I'm lucky or unlucky, but I'm not a street corn fan.
Ooh,
I
yeah,
did
that is
do
very unlucky.
Yeah, I did do more tacos than I've done in maybe years. I mean, maybe the combined total of tacos may be more than I've eaten in a long time. And here's another great secret about Mexico City if you're fortunate enough to visit. Because of the tech industry, the Asian population there has absolutely exploded. And the Asian restaurant population, I can say this because I'm a big Asian food fan. The restaurants not only are plentiful, but they're very high quality. And I had a couple of those there. So I kind of mixed some cultures in Mexico City.
Quiet as it's kept, Thomas Harding, huge sushi fan.
Yes.
Huge
no doubt.
sushi fan.
Big foodie.
Yeah, he is. He is a big foodie. Hey, shifting gears slightly, Thomas, but because that is what I wanted to get you to talk about was the weekend in Mexico City. And, you know, I had never thought about the altitude and the nosebleeds. That's bizarre, but I guess it comes with. But while we got you, certainly want to ask you, the Rockies have made a roster move in the last 24 hours involving a former area player, Jordan Beck. When's he going to make his debut?
That's tonight against the Marlins, and the Rockies are very excited about it. In fact, when I watched him in spring training, it's funny because these days you don't have a large number of reporters that stay for most of it, but I was writing a lot about Jordan Beck, and people were asking me these questions. And just from talking to the coaching staff, even though he didn't hit a home run in a major league game, they're like, this guy is for real. I mean, and under other circumstances, he would have made the opening day roster and been in the lineup. He's gone to AAA and absolutely torn it up. I think it's 307 average, bunch of extra base hits. I think 5 home runs, if I'm not mistaken. And he looks real. I mean, the guy moves quite well. He's a big power hitter from the right side. And just a fun guy to watch. He's a fun guy to watch play. He's expressive on the field. And from talking to him, actually a down-to-earth fellow. I mean, it's like everything you kind of want. He hasn't. I think he was in the top 100 of MLB.com prospects. Didn't really get the prospect shine that I think he deserved for the type of bat he can bring to the major leagues. Does strike out a little, but it looks like there's some power there. And I think when I'm talking to the coaching staff, when I talk to Bud Black, going back to spring training, they're like, this guy is a future everyday player.
Hazel Green, Alabama native, just south of the border here, down 65. Jordan Beck, as you mentioned, slashed 307, 405, 594 in 25 games with the Rockies' AAA affiliate in Albuquerque, according to this article on MLB.com by prospects expert Jonathan Mayo. So,
yes.
Really looking forward to seeing what he does. He's coming up. Nolan Jones dealing with some back issues. So this is Jordan's time to shine, looks like. I mean, they're just going to stick him in left and leave him out there until Nolan comes back. Is that the plan?
I think that's the plan to begin with. The question is what happens when Nolan Kahn over the last couple of seasons, whether it was Ezekiel Tovar at shortstop or Nolan Jones or Brenton Doyle in center field. The guys that come up and look like they're going to be players, even when they struggle, they stay with them. Jordan Beck looks like their future. Now, you still have Chris Bryant, although he's on the injured list, which unfortunately that's the way he spent most of his time here. And Charlie Blackmon has struggled quite a bit this year. How do they work Jordan Beck in there as a daily player when you've got a couple of veterans there? I think that they have committed to youth. If you look at most of the positions, they're youthful guys, and they're looking at probably, I'm going to say 2026 to really turn the corner because they had a bunch of injuries in their pitching at the major league and minor league levels. So they're really building for something in the future, not something now. I'll be interested to see how much Jordan Beck is playing, especially if he's hitting when he first comes up.
And all indications are he's going to hit. I'm not a big analytics guy, but according to this article by John, 29 balls that he has hit have been over 100 miles an hour. So exit velo is something that a lot of people put a lot of stock in, and he's got it. His average is 91.3.
It's interesting too. I mean, almost from the day he got to AAA, and really the opening day, if I'm not mistaken, he hit a home run in the first and third games of the season, and that was the thing that made him different from other people, even in AAA, where the ball does fly in so many of the ballparks. Those are legit power numbers. When you're hitting the ball that hard, you can get home runs in AAA in the Pacific Coast League and not hit the ball that hard. You get it into the atmosphere in places like Albuquerque and places like Reno and Salt Lake, and you could end up with a home run that maybe is not a home run in a major league ballpark. That is the big question coming from the Pacific Coast League. The numbers are so skewed by the ballparks that it's hard to evaluate hitters, and it's even harder to evaluate pitchers. I mean, you're telling your pitcher you're doing well, and he's looking at a 70 ERA. You know, a hitter is telling you, I'm ready, but it's like, yeah, you're hitting pop-ups out of the ballpark, and the pitching is better up here. So it's really hard to evaluate the players. It's hard for the players to evaluate themselves.
Having covered the Nashville Sounds in the Pacific Coast League, which is another story for another day, I know exactly where you're coming from on that, trying to evaluate from a statistical standpoint. So it's the eyes will lie. No, I mean, sometimes the eyes will lie to you,
Yeah, weren't those bizarre times with the Nashville Sounds of the Memphis Redbirds in the Pacific Coast League? I mean, let's face it, you could say Memphis was on the Pacific coast of Tennessee. That's about as close as you came to being in the Pacific Coast. And the Rockies and, the Memphis Redbirds in the Pacific Coast League, and same with the Nashville Sounds. That was so weird.
It was weird. It was weird from the very beginning until the end, and how it ended. Thomas, I saw a note on X, Twitter, whatever you call it. The uniform issue is, kind of winding down, or we've got a resolution to it. Is that fair?
There's a reported resolution. I don't know that all parties have discussed it, and obviously I'm a person that follows that type of thing. When you look at it, there was a major change in the uniform. Some of the things that the players asked for, lighter materials and things like that. And obviously you had Nike and Fanatics, two groups that are trying to get the uniforms out. And Fanatics is responsible not only for the uniforms for the players, but every single fan uniform. So if you're making a change in some materials because you're looking to lighten the uniform, you're looking at one company. And I'm not sure if they have more than one plant now. I know at one point there was one place in Eastern Pennsylvania making everything for the players and the fans. I mean, this type of thing, if it in a normal atmosphere, is considered research. It's considered, hey, let's look at these things and then we will fix them if they go wrong. And that's probably what's happening. It's just that there was a lot of loud complaining. There were a lot of stories that came out and everything else where it seemed like a crisis. But I think in a normal manufacturing situation, to me, this looks like something. Hey, we're going to try this, and maybe we're putting it on the market before it's ready, but the contract says we have to do it. So I don't believe that this is the Armageddon issue that some are making it out to be. Could it be that the Players Association and the league, they're butting heads over everything, knowing that there's a CBA coming up? I'm not sure about that. I'm not privy to those things, but when I look at it, that's the impression I get.
So this was kind of an R&D kind of thing, is what you're saying.
Well, you can't help but make it an R&D kind of thing. And I've noticed from really 3 years ago where as a hobby, as a sidelight, I've helped some high schools design their uniforms. And
he does a great job, by the way.
Thank you.
Again, hit him at Harding _@_ MLB if you want Thomas to mock something up for you.
All right. Well, and what was happening, at least 3 years ago, there was talk about changing the way that the lettering was done on the uniforms. I remember talking to one equipment manager, and he said that when you go to a very humid climate like St. Louis or Atlanta, the uniform ended up weighing a lot more at the end of the game than it did at the start of the game. And a lot of that weight was in the numbers with the sweat. And so they've worked on so many things. You see at the high school level where some teams are actually sublimating all the graphics, meaning nothing is sewn on the uniform. It's a part of the jersey. Can't do that at the major league level because it takes time to make one of those jerseys. And if you have a trade or you call up someone from the minors, how do you get a jersey to them? So they're working through a lot of these issues. I have seen some of the materials that are used in numbers. I have a few laying around the house. So it is a situation where, yeah, you're trying to fix something that's gone on. And like I say, the contracts with the various with the various vendors, you get into the weeds of those. There are only certain things you can do. But hopefully this will fix. And when I saw the controversy in spring training, I thought, okay, some of this, yeah, there are some legitimate issues, but because of how this came about, they were probably unavoidable, and at some point they'll fix them. To me, it is normal research and development, not a controversy as in, they're forcing the players to play in lingerie or whatever, some of the quotes that I was hearing.
So not a full-blown panic mode or crisis mode potentially after a couple more months or this season, it sounds like, heading into next year.
That's my guess on it. I haven't talked to anybody on it. I would think it would probably take into next season to fix these things. Listen, for me, I remember during spring training talking to players, and it seemed like one of the things that bothered them the most, that had nothing to do with the uniform itself. The company decided that they were going to make pants in just various sizes, and you can order those. Well, during spring training, for many moons, I remember seeing this on television in the 70s, they would bring in a tailor and they'd measure the uniform for everybody. It got to the point where you would see players, it's like, if I'm going to wear my pants up, then you have to tailor it this way. If I'm going to wear them down, you tailor it this way. If I'm on the road or I want it tighter, looser. So guys had like 12 pairs of pants in their lockers. And I don't know how you administrate that. So maybe with a little bit more time, it's almost like going back to the way things were.
Thomas Harding of MLB.com. One final question before we let you go, Thomas. You mentioned the Rockies are going to Miami now. The Rockies are 7-21. Miami is 6-24. The White Sox are 6-23. Who winds up with the number one pick next year?
I'm sorry, I missed the question. We froze for a second.
I said, who winds up with the number one pick out of those three in 2025?
Oh boy, there are three teams playing wretched baseball right now. And you wonder how intentional it is. I think that the Marlins are the most disappointed of it. I mean, they were such a good team last year, and so many of the guys are the same. Obviously, they had some front office turmoil, and Kim Ng left them. And I think that they're paying for that right now because she did such a good job putting that team together. But there was a lot of apparent internal turmoil we didn't know about. I feel like the Marlins are the most talented of the crew. The White Sox, I've talked to some people with that organization, and they knew they were going to struggle. It sounds like the White Sox and the Rockies are almost the same team. They're like, if everything goes perfectly, then maybe we can get to 500. But then the season started, and they just went right off the cliff. The White Sox going in, I thought would be the number one pick. But they also brought in Tommy Pham, who's a winner. Can he help those guys win a bit before they trade him at the deadline to build the roster a little bit more? So the White Sox, Rockies, and Marlins, they're battling for the bottom there. And I think the Rockies are a little better than the White Sox, but I'm certainly not going to take that to the bank.
T. Harding, appreciate you. I take it you're not going to Miami.
Not Miami. I will join the team in Pittsburgh. And, but I want you guys, hey, listen, do not sweat the Houston Astros. They are going to be there. Now, that's something that you can just mark down right now. And if I'm wrong, have me back on here and I will issue an apology to all I may have offended with my remarks. But the Houston Astros will be there at the end.
Wade needed to hear that.
Second minute, hour, and date all noted right there of your proclamation. So it'll be.
You're like a lot of Astros fans. I mean, they're like, oh, yeah, we beat the Rockies. Woo, woo, woo. But there are some very real things about that team. I mean, they're too veteran to continue to struggle with runners in scoring position. The bullpen getting to Josh Hader, if the starting rotation is healthy, they're going to have that together, and it's a really good bullpen. The problem was a lot of times their pitchers were pitching out of their roles because they were behind or something had happened earlier in the game or with the lack of health from the starting rotation. I'm telling you, the Astros will be there.
There you have it.
Just what the doctor ordered.
There we go. Thomas Harding of MLB.com joining us here on Main Street Sports today. Thomas, we appreciate it, man. We'll catch up with you soon.
Hey, thanks for having me.
All righty. Come back to the Lee Company studios after this break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by TOA of Columbia. We'll talk a little Braves. Stay with us.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers. Putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
April 30th, 1997, with their 12-3 win at Cincinnati, the Braves became the first Major League Baseball team to finish the month of April with 19 victories. Fred McGriff and Michael Tucker each homered, and Denny Nagel allowed 3 runs over 7 innings as Atlanta improved to 19-6 for a .760 winning percentage. Tucker, in his first season with the team, hit .418 for the month, while Kenny Lofton hit .395 in the hot start. That was this day in Braves history. Been talking a lot about late offense with this team, and they had some late last night. Took a 1-0 lead to break up Bryce Miller of Mount Pleasant, Texas's no-hitter, but that 1 run on an Ozzie Albies RBI double was all they would get. Meanwhile, AJ Minter giving up a 2-run shot to the Mariners as they walked it off last night, 2-1. And I guess Iglesias wasn't available. I was a little shocked that it wasn't Iglesias in the 9th, but you had double no-hitters going for the longest in this one. Both Bryce Miller and Max Fried pitched their tails off, and that was the toughest part of this, I think, for the Braves, that you couldn't get Max the win after that performance. But and you don't want to get too torn up over 19-7 in the first month of the season, or I guess 19-8 now. At the same time, you want to win them all. So it's and as you said, Chris and I were going back and forth on that text string last night, and I noticed after a while, Wade ain't saying nothing. Maybe we need to start a separate string, because
I did not want any bad juju coming my way. If one text I fire off, and all of a sudden there goes the no-hitter, I could see the situation unveiling. And Yao's not even here today, but he would have found a way to be on the show if I had somehow been culpable in that situation. So I politely just backed on out of that deal, partner.
Culpable. I like it.
I did not want any part. And yeah, you mentioned, I did see the clip though. Mitch Garver absolutely sent one to the Pacific Ocean last night.
He really crushed that ball. I mean, there was no doubt about it. I think as soon as that ball was hit, everybody started walking off the field, unfortunately. So, yeah, tough night for AJ. You could tell I didn't have my A+ stuff, but at the same time, you got to figure a way to get it done, and I couldn't. I just hate it for Max. He pitched an unbelievable game, and he did. First runs allowed by AJ Minter in 10 outings now. So, I mean, it happens to everybody at some point.
Yep, can't win them all. And the good news is, like, you'd rather lose this one in heartbreaking fashion in late April with 90 plus games to go than you would in September or October.
Good news for the Braves, like you said. Seattle sends Luis Castillo out to the mound for tonight's 8:40 first pitch. 2-4 with a 4.15 ERA is the 31-year-old right-hander. Atlanta counters with quite possibly one of the biggest pickups of the offseason, Ronaldo Lopez. 2-0 with a 0.72 earned run average, 24 strikeouts in 25 innings over 4 starts. Making his transition back into a starting role after having pitched in relief with the White Sox. So working out well. Hopefully he can give the Braves another great start tonight, because coming off this loss, they need it.
Hey, another one to point out, I got to give a shout out. I had a friend of mine actually randomly at this game last night. An old colleague
at this game.
At this game, my friend Luke Thompson, who used to write for the Leaf Chronicle up in Clarksville, is relocated, been living in Washington for a number of years. And you may say, oh, he went to the game. He was there for a different reason. It was Bark at the Park night last night. So he and his wife, along with all the other Mariners fans, they were proud to bring their pooch to the ballpark. So he was there for the concessions, and I think he was there for the Bark at the Park, but ended up being a great game. As you said, 2 no-hitters going deep into the night, literally and figuratively, as the that was a classic game last night. And I'll be curious to see, because Seattle's obviously been playing well. We've talked about them a number of times on this show in the last couple of weeks. And but yeah, Luke was there with the missus and the puppy, and they had a big time. But I think it'll be a fun rest of the series. I'm playing 3-game series. Yeah.
Mhm.
So 3-game set. Hopefully you get that one, games 2 and 3 to go Atlanta's way. But it does stink, obviously, when you see Freed getting that ERA certainly lowered last night, and then had 7 strikeouts to boot. And it's tough, right? I mean, 100 pitches, there ain't no way he's going to make it more than an inning or 2 when you take him out in this day and age, especially. And the bullpen did a pretty good job until they didn't, which is the unfortunate part of that. So. Yeah,
that kind of comes with the territory with the bullpen, unfortunately. You mentioned it was bark at the park at T-Mobile Park last night. It's Tito's Tail Wagging Tuesday out at First Horizon Park tonight as the Sounds open their 6-game series against Norfolk tonight. Only time that dogs are allowed entry at the ballpark to watch Sounds baseball with their owners, according to this read here on the website, courtesy of Tito's Handmade Vodka. So it's also peanut-free night, as Jeff Ham mentioned on Friday when we had him on, presented by the Allergy, Asthma, and Sinus Center. So if you have peanut allergies and don't feel comfortable going to the ballpark for obvious reasons, tonight would be a good night to go.
Yeah, that's a cool thing, right? The fact that if you are deathly allergic or you have concerns about that situation, that you're afforded an opportunity to still go out and check out the game. Now, if your dog is a fan of peanuts, that's unfortunate.
Oh, that is unfortunate.
That's really tough if your dog is a shell eater.
Got good news, got bad news,
Yeah.
Fido. You can go to the park, but no peanuts. Yeah, that's tough.
Jake, you're good with the bad, I suppose.
I guess, yeah. I like that the Sounds, and I'm sure other minor league teams, other major league teams are probably doing this as well, but they are making conscious efforts to try to be inclusive, because peanut allergies are no joke.
I had an intern at Martin Methodist, and I'm sitting there chomping away on some peanuts at a baseball game one day, and he said, "Do not take 2 steps toward me." And
I will fight you.
That threw me for a loop. And then what really threw me for a loop was 2 days later, we're working another game, and the same intern is eating a bag of pistachios. He said, "Well, I'm not allergic to these." So that kind of blew my mind even more.
Okay, so it's specific.
Certain kinds, yeah. So some people are really, really specific on that. So that blew my mind in basically the span of 4 days, that whole sequence right there. So kind of cool that the Sounds are, as you said, being inclusive in this regard here.
Absolutely. Stay with us for the second hour of Top 5 Tuesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we return to the Lee Company studios after this break, we will be joined by the Blue Raider voice, Chip Walters. Later in the show, it's Top 5 Tuesday. Wade and I will give you our top 5 women's college basketball players. So stay tuned after this break.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers, putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
Hour 2 of Top 5 Tuesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, starts now. And helping us start it is the Blue Raider voice, Chip Walters. Good afternoon, sir.
How art thou?
Indeed. Better.
Good.
Better.
I saw where you had had someone that was that messed up and had to put a first annual on something. I saw one. I saw same category today. It was somebody coming out of the transfer portal wanted to thank the University of Oklahoma State for their offer. So same kind of deal.
Speaking of the transfer portal, the Blue Raiders and the Lady Raiders have been quite active in it.
They have. And, here over the weekend, like between last Friday and hang on, who's calling me? Is that you, Mo?
No, it's not me.
They'll get a call back later.
There we go.
The women got a local product who had been here in town, heavily recruited. The Monson girl from Blackman, in her time at Blackman, she won 4 region championships and a state championship. And, the guys were very busy as well and brought in 2, what I think are going to be really key pieces. One being a post player and Isam Mustafa, who started his career playing for Cliff Ellis over at Coastal, and then brought in a swing man from Arizona State who had originally signed with Louisville, and coming out of high school was a top 100 recruit. So I think they feel pretty good about the men have signed 4 now, and the women with Monson, they've already gotten a couple of commitments for 2025 So it has been a busy week bolstering the roster around over here.
Yeah, Emily Monson, who spent her freshman year at Purdue, I guess.
Correct.
Logged in a career high 14 minutes against USI, Southern Indiana, but 1,000-point scorer at Blackman, as you said, helped the Lady Blaze to 3 district championships, 4 region championships, and a state title in 2021. 6'1" guard.
Yeah,
Like
that's pretty good. For on the women's side, a 6'1" guard. That those are some pretty good measurables.
Mm-hmm. And she joins earlier in April a transfer from Texas Tech.
Correct. Who
that I don't
had
think we've
originally
talked
been
about.
who had originally been with UTEP and was 2 years ago was the Conference USA Defensive Player of the Year. And as we mentioned, made the move to Texas Tech and now coming back to Middle Tennessee, getting back into Conference USA. So, and that lady was her last name is Enrique. Yes. And Alina or Elina, Elina, Enrique. So, 2 really good sized players there. And she's not 6'1", she's about 6'3". And from what I remember, just kind of blistered us in the Conference USA tournament a couple of years ago, just standing out and was hitting kind of set shot threes. So she brings some offense to the table, very good rebounder, and really a very gifted shot blocker.
Started 5 games, played in 26 at Texas Tech this past year. And like you said, the 23 Conference USA Defensive Player of the Year, second team all conference. For her career at UTEP, averaged 8.5 points, 5 rebounds, and 1.5 assists. So, like you said, a couple of nice little gets for the rich getting richer over there in the Glass House with Rick Insel and his program. I wanted to delve a little bit more into that men's transfers, but I wanted to get them in front of me first. If GoBlueRaiders.com will.
Isan Mustafa, he was the first of those 2 to sign, and now the men have signed 5 total since the signing period or the portal period opened up and all that. Interestingly enough, Mustafa averaged a double-double in 3 years at Coastal before going to what at the time seemed to be greener pastures when he went to TCU. But really, he was at home at Coastal, was a very good player in the Sun Belt, averaged a double-double, and as a matter of fact, in a game in Murfreesboro against Middle, had 13 points and 10 rebounds, and that was, I think, his freshman year. But a young man from Cairo, Egypt, who has really has good skill around the basket. So really kind of I like what I see out of him. And if you look up his tape on YouTube, very good with both hands, very remindful to me of DeAndre Dishman as far as his type. He's a little bit undersized at 6'8", 6'9", but has more moves than a box of X-Lax. I mean, he has the left hand, the right hand, the good feet, the scoop shots, the hook shots. He just knows how to get it in the basket.
You've chuckled Mo here.
Yeah, you got me. You got me. I am a little intrigued by the most recent signee, Chip, that you mentioned, the young man from Arizona State, Kamari Lands, who is from Indianapolis, listed as a 6'8" guard, comes in as a junior.
Yeah, he kind of reminds me of an Elias King kind of guy at 6'8", with the ability to and probably, when I look at him as well as when you think about Jared Hall, the young man from Lebanon, they're kind of plug and play, and those 2 guys really fit the Nick McDevitt template of being 6'5" to 6'8" versatile players that can be plugged in to the 2, 3, or 4. He likes to have true point guards and a true post player, but being able to have those 2, 3s, and 4s be versatile, I think he really fits that mold, and lands, as we mentioned, out of Indianapolis, signed with Kenny Payne in Louisville out of high school, and then moved on to Arizona State. So, he's had some interesting coaching along the way with Kenny Payne, and then at Arizona State, that's been interesting for them to play in the Pac-10, but he's going to be getting closer back to home, and I think feels like he can come in the middle and be an impact guy.
Yeah, you certainly hope so.
Yeah.
The Blue Raiders have basically brought in a starting 5 or 5 out of the portal.
Well, you could say that, but are you going to tell that to Cam Weston?
Well, I didn't mean that they would all start. I'm just saying they brought in a unit, and
you have that could be a grouping that you might certainly see working together during the summertime. But and I think that there's still a couple of slots that they're looking to fill. Right now, they've signed 5, and between transfers out and graduations, they needed 7 new players, and I think they're looking for to get a third big, because right now you have Mustafa and Chris Loof, and they'd like to have a third center. And at this point, with Mustafa being the guy that has, he's your old sage out there in the post. Loof, who came light years as a freshman, and you're really excited about where he is. Now you're in a position where if you go and, because everybody's paying attention to the portal, this may be the opportune time to go find that under-recruited, really good, solid high school center that you can develop, just like they had with Loof a year ago. And also, I think they'd like to have one more combo guard that can be not only a decent shooter, but can be that emergency point guard when they need it.
Yeah, you saw last year where you kind of need that.
Yes.
May put you on the spot just a little bit. You mentioned Chris Loof, the Red Rocket. Are you surprised he's back?
Not really. I think he. I really like his character. In that I think he has an appreciation, and his family has an appreciation for the development that he made from the first day he stepped on campus until where we are right now. And I think there is a loyalty to that with his family and him. And he just has been a very, very good fit. And I think he's smart enough to know that sometimes a bird in the hand is sometimes pretty valuable.
Absolutely. Hey, Chip, we're going to get into MTSU baseball in a minute, but I did see the pics floating on social media, and you clean up nice, partner. What can you tell us about the Blue Raiders Choice Awards from last week? Were there any surprises, or what caught your eye last week?
I don't know that there were any real surprises, but let's talk a little bit about the 4 biggest awards out there, in my opinion. That is the male and female True Blue President's Award. That kind of brings everything into account from an athletic, academic, community service, leadership, just all around. And Courtney Whitson won that for the 3rd year in a row, which is unheard of. We've been doing this for 13 years, and it just tells you what a special person and a special student athlete Courtney Whitson is. And the male winner, Murray County's own Briggs Rudder, he has obviously made an impact during his college career. And I will have to say, Briggs probably gained more points in his acceptance speech when he thanked his girlfriend, who's on the volleyball team, for her support. So Briggs Briggs, he's got it right there and knew what he was doing. But those two folks, and then the male and female athlete of the year, Leo Rakeen of men's tennis, the leader of the 5-time Conference USA champions. And then you have the co-winners on the women's side, Purity Sangha, Conference USA champion in cross country. She is an international athlete who has been right there individually and team-wise, winning conference championships in cross country. And then Savannah Wheeler, who came here as a transfer from Marshall and obviously put her thumbprint on women's basketball. So those to me are just super deserving. The other individual awards, male and female newcomer, Jacob Kroslick of tennis, which obviously he made an impact there on that deep roster, and Laurie Jansen of volleyball, as volleyball is making a big comeback. Female breakout performer of the year, Tamia Scott, women's basketball. Don't think you could argue that by any stretch. And again, men's and women's cross country was very good this year. Carmelo Canizero was the male breakout performer there. And, Claire Woods, Summertown native, was honored with the Make a Difference Award because she is a multi-year president of the Student Athlete Advisory Committee. She has been part of the Conference USA Student Athlete Advisory Committee and has been on numerous NCAA committees. So she has worked hard making a difference day in, day out with her fellow student athletes. So she was very well deserving of that. New award this year, Blue Raider Impact Award. It actually went to the First Lady of MTSU, Liz McPhee, who made a very heartfelt speech to the student athletes and what they meant to her, what they mean to her. She and Dr. McPhee do one of the things that goes unnoticed is holiday time. A lot of student athletes, get to go home. Well, there's a lot of international kids who are here as student athletes. Almost always, Thanksgiving and Christmas, they're over having holiday dinner with the McPhees. We mentioned Cam Weston earlier. When Cam went down with a knee injury and was kind of bedridden for a few weeks, who was taking hot meals over to Cam Weston's apartment? Liz McPhee. So she told the student athletes the other night that she goes, I may not know every one of your faces and I may not know every one of your names, but when you put that jersey on, I know exactly who you are and you have my total support. So that was I thought was really outstanding.
That is outstanding. Chip Walters, the Blue Raider voice, joining us here on Main Street Sports today. Chip, if you win an award 3 years in a row, don't you kind of have to have it named for you after that?
Well,
I mean, doesn't it become the Courtney Whitson True Blue?
I don't know about that, but as you all know, I deal in the horse business a little bit, and in a lot of those horse shows, if you win a certain trophy 3 times in a row, you get to retire it. So in this case, Courtney is, when I think of Courtney, I think of, okay, who is in her orbit, and I think about Alicia Clark. I think about, possibly Ebony Rowe, that they're just, when somebody asks you, what is Courtney Whitson like, or what is Alicia Clark like? The answer out of my mouth is they're too good to be true. And Courtney is exactly that. She is, and she knows what she wants to do. She wants to teach and coach. Will she get an opportunity to play professional ball? I don't know. We always want to see more opportunities on the women's side there, and obviously things are moving there. But Courtney very much knows what her long-term future is, and I will say that my radio partner Kyle Turnham, the new head women's coach at Warren County, back while he was still the head coach at Shelbyville, basically put it out on the air that she had an open invitation to come be on his staff wherever he might be.
Right. never accuse Kyle of being dumb. So
That's right.
I mean, yeah. Chip, that's not all that's going on campus. Wade mentioned baseball, and I want to hit on it briefly because I don't want to talk about the two games that MTSU lost to Western Kentucky. But my goodness, that 16-9 win on Friday night. Brett Von Dolen.
Brett Von Dolen out of Stewart's Creek High School in Rutherford County set the single game record for RBIs with 10. He had 4 hits in the ball game, 3 home runs, 2 of which were grand slams, and the other was a 2-run shot. And he hit the grand slams before he hit the 2-run homer. So it was just pretty amazing. And Middle has played much better the last couple of weeks. Lost a 1-run game on Saturday, and really a 1-run game on Sunday that Western added a couple of insurance runs in the ninth, and lost 2 1-run games last week down at Sam Houston. So they are in I think, a better frame of mind of where they are. And with 2 conference series left to play, they go out of conference this week to Binghamton, who may be the best team they've played all year. They go to New York to play Binghamton this weekend, and have a game tonight against North Alabama, who'll be riding up probably Highway 43 and through the Dimple to get to Murfreesboro. And it's also Jimmy Buffett night tonight. So the first 100 that come through the gates at Reese Smith Field get a co-branded straw summer party hat. So come on out tonight. It's going to be good weather. Going to be nice and hot.
Wish I'd known. Might have tried to get over there for that.
Yeah, you don't have one you could model for us real quick, do you, Chip?
I do not. Those have been
Yep, tight.
Yeah, I'm going tonight, and actually we have Middle Tennessee Association of Realtors has an event tonight. But with the sun popping out like it has this afternoon, it will not be a Jimmy Buffett version, but there will be a straw hat on this head when I go over to the park this afternoon.
Chip, making a familiar trip here later this week, I guess.
Say that again. You dropped out.
I said the Blue Raider tennis team is making a familiar trip.
That is correct. They're heading down to Stark Vegas, and be the second year in a row that they have been sent to Starkville. After winning the Conference USA Championship, they had a week to prepare, and had an event last night at the Boulevard for the selection show. It will be Mississippi State, Georgia Tech, Middle, and Alabama State. And Middle and Georgia Tech will play on Friday at 10 a.m. Mississippi State and Alabama A&M will play, or Alabama State, that afternoon, and the winners will play on Saturday in that regional. But it is, interestingly enough, Middle was knocked out last year by Mississippi State 4-2. But earlier this year in Murfreesboro, the Blue Raiders beat the Bulldogs 4-3. And I think we'll go in with a good deal of confidence. And Georgia Tech is no unbeatable powerhouse out there by any stretch. So I think, the Blue Raiders have gone on the road, and they've played at home, and they've gone from coast to coast and played very good ranked teams, and have a very good record against ranked teams this year. And so they'll step out there and play well on Friday. No doubt about it.
What else are we looking out for on campus over the next few days, Chip?
I was just looking here to see what might show up softball has the weekend off. They will be so they've got a couple of series left. Right now we had you're going through exams. You've got graduation coming up, and right now as I look on the calendar, baseball, and the very next event after that is going to be men's tennis on Friday. You do have the Conference USA outdoor meet coming up out in El Paso, Texas, and that will be coming up this weekend on the 5th, and actually it'll be coming up this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and so things are starting to wind down right now with conference championship events.
Hey,
And
Chip,
by the way, that was Mark Owens that called. I'll call him back.
give him.
Tell him we said hey.
Yeah, tell him we said hello. Chip, you mentioned horses earlier. Is that of the walking or the racing variety? Because it is Derby week after all.
Well, it is Derby week. In my history has been announcing a lot of walking horse shows. I got to go to West Tennessee this weekend for a little side hustle down that way. So yeah. But I've also been involved in the racing business very, very little, and covered several derbies when back in the early 90s, and actually was there to see Pat Day win his first derby on Lily T, and just have enjoyed all of that throughout the years.
Somewhat of an equine expert, I suppose.
I don't know about that. Just maybe just enough to be dangerous.
No comment. Where in West Tennessee you headed?
Beautiful Parker's Crossroads, the gateway to Jackson.
There is a Dairy Queen right there at that exit off.
Yes, there is.
Yes,
and there's
sir.
a Waffle House there too.
Well, I'm not so much. I got Waffle House in Franklin. We
That's
don't
right.
have Dairy Queen, and
Really, I got a Dairy Queen right down the street from my house over here.
we do not have a Dairy Queen. It is one of, well, don't get me started, but yeah.
Hey, real quick, I just since we mentioned it, Chip, I brought up the field. By the way, it's a 21 horse field this weekend. I feel like we got to be compelled to bet on the 16 horse Grand Mo the First.
No doubt about it.
He's 50-1. I mean, we could do some damage. I feel like we're contractually obligated to throw some money on Grand Mo the First.
You know, the Mo we know and love is quick in a small area. Hopefully, Grand Mo will be quick in a mile
in a large area. Yeah,
in a mile and a quarter. So
50-1, we can do this show from a variety of remote locations if we were to come up with some payoff like that.
That's right, and maybe even from the private airliner or something like that. That would be good.
We could not do this show at all.
we can also let Chip host the show next Tuesday.
There you go. So, well, get those bets down.
Well, that just popped up on me. I was just looking at the field here, and it looks like he's the 16. So I at least going to have a couple shekels out this weekend.
There you go. There you go. Good deal.
Chip Walters, the Blue Raider voice, joining us as he does almost every Tuesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by TOA of Columbia. Chip, enjoy Parker's Crossroads. Get a butterscotch milkshake for me while you're out there, and we will talk to you next Tuesday.
All right. See you, boys.
All right. Hey, when we come back to the Lee Company studios here on Main Street Sports Today, it's the grab bag. Stay with us.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers. Putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
Got kind of a Chris Isaac sound to it.
Wavy, baby, wavy.
Yeah, I like that. Good stuff, Mark. Welcome back to Top 5 Tuesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by TOA of Columbia. We are in the Lee Company studios here in Columbia. It is time for the grab bag, and I'll start it, Wade, scrolling through Twitter as we are wont to do. Travis Kelce, tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs, and oh yeah, Taylor Swift's significant other. Not necessarily in that order. Has signed a 2-year extension, making him the highest paid tight end in the National Football League. As well he should be.
I was kind of shocked that he was not already the highest paid. I mean, I guess this is essentially a issue of timing. The funny part is he's going to basically enter probably the last 2 years of his career, honestly, or certainly the last 2 years of his prime as the highest paid. And so it's kind of interesting that just now he's only receiving kind of this this distinction here, because he's been the gold standard really ever since Gronk kind of left the scene, turning 35 in October, and his extension kind of could be that first little indication that he may be getting ready to pack it in after 25.
One last payday.
Yep.
Yeah. Extended or getting a raise from $30.25 million to $34.25 million. I guess that's $4 million, an additional $4 million over that 2-year period. So
now, the obvious question, is there a bump clause with him and Andy Reid? If he were to flatten Andy Reid again, like we saw in the Super Bowl, does that money go away? Because that's something, if I was the Chiefs, I might be angling for. Say, look, we love you and we're glad to have you, but we also love our guy Andy too. So just be careful before you go knocking my man down.
Take it easy on the big guy. Yeah, absolutely. With his new deal, Kelsey will average $17.125 million per year, moving him ahead of the New York Giants' Darren Waller, who was making a flat $17 million. So, 9-time Pro Bowler is Travis Kelsey. 907 career catches for 11,328 yards, 74 touchdowns. Put up 1,000 yards per season from 16 through 22.
I mean, he's Mahomes makes that offense go, but he's right there with it. And Brady, for as good as he was, Gronk was really his right-hand man for so much of that magical run that New England put together. Those two have been stuck like glue, as you might say.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good to see him get a last payday. He did take a tiny bit of a decline, I think, last year, but that accounts for those few weeks where, remember, at the start of the season, we didn't think the Chiefs would even make the playoffs.
They had a lot going on last year, though. The enemy being gone, year 2 of no Tyreek, just a lot. And they clearly figured something out down the stretch. And the minus Tyreek issue appears to have quite possibly been addressed as of Thursday night. So they are still the Kansas City Chiefs. They are still the gold standard in the NFL until proven otherwise. As we mentioned at the top of the show, Preds are at Vancouver trying to stay alive in the postseason, trailing the Canucks 3-1 going into that 9 o'clock puck drop there. We talked to Ann Kimmel with Penalty Box Radio yesterday, kind of talked us off the ledge or back from the ledge maybe yesterday. It's still an uphill battle. They got to win 3 games. Two of them on the road.
2 of them on the road.
One at home where, as you pointed out, they've not had a whole lot of success. So I'm not sure how much difference it makes, but they just got to win.
Yep. It ain't going to be easy. And we saw Dallas last night claw back in their series versus the Golden Knights and put the rest of the playoffs to the side, because a lot of the NHL experts are saying the longer your first round series go, these things are such a grind in the later rounds that you're really kind of hurting yourself before you can really get going. And Nashville can't worry about that. It'd be nice to see them come out and just get the win tonight, and then that place will be off the charts on Friday night. And the way it's set up, still don't know who the goalie's going to be tonight for Vancouver. They're taking it, quote, hour by hour. And so whether Demko, who was listed as week to week, probably not going to be him. So now the question is it going to be DeSmith or Seeloss?
And, as Ann said yesterday, and as the results are proven, I'm not sure it matters who the goalie is.
No, and the frustrating thing about this whole series is Nashville has lost 3 of the games, obviously. You could maybe make the case, and I know we mentioned it a time or two last week, the 3 games they've lost, you can make a pretty good argument that they outplayed Vancouver in those games and ended up on the losing end of the shtick. And then the game that they end up winning was the one they maybe got outplayed. I certainly wouldn't advocate going into this game wanting to get outplayed. I feel like in the long term, that's probably a bad strategy. But if they could somehow scratch out a win tonight over in Vancouver, maybe things – you get back at home and then all bets are off, because if you can win that game at home, now you got a game 7. And then it's not like the NBA where it's just really a daunting task, as daunting of a task to go on the road and win a game 7. So if they can just get back to Vancouver, obviously win tonight, take care of Friday, and then if you can just get back to force that game 7 this weekend, they could be in decent shape.
You know, you kind of feel like if you can get to Game 7, kind of all bets are off regardless of where you're playing. But if they get to Game 7 from here, clearly they've got some momentum going too. So I think we probably ought to take care of Game 5 before we worry about Game 7.
Yep. We could be talking about a big celebration next Monday, or we could be talking about a funeral tomorrow. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, ain't no way around it.
And as Ann said yesterday, this CBS Sports article, it's an etch-a-sketch goldfish kind of mentality, Andrew Burnett said. We had to win a game in Vancouver regardless, so just go win one. And everything, all the focus, all the effort is just about Tuesday night. Doesn't matter how you got here. This is playoff hockey. Things happen fast. Things change fast. And let's change the narrative. And the narrative has to be changed because right now it's not a good one for the Predators. You mentioned the NBA playoffs. Teams are starting to go fishing, as Charles, Shaq, and Kenny like to say.
Yeah, Cancun is getting awfully crowded this time of the year. And for the first time, talk about a passing of the torch. KD, Curry, and LeBron all going to be in Cancun this weekend. So if you were planning to book a trip, you're probably going to pay a little bit more because there's already been some prime real estate snagged by 3 of the West. And
well, they're going to be in Cancun, and what Charles was wanting to send the Pelicans to Galveston.
Yes,
he wasn't letting them go to Cancun.
No, they're not worthy. And I tweeted about it last night. It's kind of funny the way this series played out. The Lakers, I'm kind of in a way, the games were pretty competitive the last 2 years, but there has not been a more hyped series the last 2 years than Lakers Nuggets, and it's 8-1. I mean, they gave them the full sweep last year. Last night they sent them off with the gentleman's sweep. And so 8-1, but you would think that this series was one that was 2 years of Game 7s in a row. And now the question immediately becomes, is that the last time we see LeBron in the Lakers uniform? Because it really kind of just feels like the Lakers formula, if LeBron is wanting to get one last legit shot at it, the Lakers is not going to be the uniform that he needs to be wearing to make such a run. So it is.
Here's the question, though. I mean, do the Lakers want him back?
I think so. Okay,
so here's how the Lakers get LeBron to come back. Draft Bronny.
I mean, that's obviously the hot rumors that everybody is. You know, he's been pretty vocal that if you draft my son, you got a pretty good shot at getting me. Now the question becomes, are you willing to toil as a 8, 9, 10, 11 seed and be a recurring guest in the play-in round every year just because they drafted your son? Or do you load up and make one last run, whether it's a team like the Mavericks? Does LeBron go back to the East, where conveniently it's worth pointing out that he won all of his championships outside of the bubble title with the Lakers? Big questions to be answered during free agency.
Here's another one, and this may be a little blasphemous given the pedestal that a lot of people want to elevate LeBron to. Do you want LeBron James?
I think certain teams do, for sure. I think any team wants him in a sense. I mean, we saw last night. I mean, the guy absolutely turned back the clock, and when he has to, he can still absolutely go. AD was crumpled and was injured yet again, and LeBron willed them all the way to the stretch. And they're right there before Murray just delivers another dagger, second one in the series. I think every team is probably going to want him. The question is, to what degree is every team going to want him? And that's really an interesting question right now because some teams would certainly love his services, but in a potentially different role, if that makes sense. That's the way I'm interpreting that. And that will be the storyline. I mean, obviously, there's a really good chance he still ends up back in Los Angeles, but it just feels like if he wants to make one last legit title run, it seems like the AD they have no supporting cast.
Mhm.
I mean, Russell was a complete non-factor in this series.
They have no supporting cast. They're probably going to make a coaching change.
There's a lot of moving parts.
They are really in flux. Yeah.
But if you want to swoop in, kind of like Durant with the Warriors a couple years ago, make one last. And I think LeBron is savvy enough, and especially in his age, he's certainly would welcome less miles and less tread on the tires. If he could just swoop in and play a second or third fiddle role potentially on a championship already potentially caliber team like a Dallas potentially has been thrown about. Who knows? It'll be very, very curious as hashtag this league the offseason will kick in.
3 games tonight. Philadelphia at the Knicks. Knicks lead that series 3-1, the number 2 seed there. Orlando at Cleveland. The Cavaliers are the number 4 seed. That series is tied at 2-2. And in the third game 5 of the night, Indiana can go on the road and close out Milwaukee. Think it goes down like that?
Indiana's been playing well. And obviously, we're not talking about the Bucks at full capacity by any means. That is, but you got to play them when you got to play them. And you can make the case Halliburton has not been the same since his injury that he suffered in the middle of the season. He was playing at an MVP level. But that will be interesting. The other big ticket, obviously, is the Knicks and Sixers series has been so fun to watch. Embiid is questionable in a sense for tonight, complaining of migraine issues. And so, obviously, if he can't go, you feel like New York gets it done. If Embiid is kind of like a LeBron in that sense, he's going to be enough of a factor if needed that he can will you to at least crunch time. And then if your role players can step up and make a couple plays, Maxi's played well in this series as well. But I feel like New York closes it out tonight. I certainly feel like Indiana's got a great shot to get their leg up. And then the Magic and Cavs, that has been just such an odd series with the designated NBA TV series. I feel like I haven't seen any of that one really at all. And so both teams have played extremely well at home. Offense has not really been a forte for any of the teams. And so it'll be interesting. I'll be glued into a couple of those tonight at some point.
Let's take a quick break here on Main Street Sports Today before we make our final push of the show with Top 5 Tuesday. Wade and I will give you our top 5 women's college basketball players when we come back to the Lee Company studio. Stay with us.
I'm Maurice Patton, and on Main Street Sports Today, we bring you the voices of your favorite teams from preps to pros.
Otherwise known as the VOT, Mike Keith.
The bottom line is we can teach Will Levis woke.
I just don't know who's going to work with you on your base stealing now that Eli's gone.
Well, that has nowhere to go but up. And I was just like, oh, guys, not again. Can we just bury that, burn that footage, and not bring it back?
No. No.
Thank you. We'll keep it going past the All-Star break, and looking forward to seeing how the rest of the season plays out. There's always a good story to tell.
Can you guess where I am today, Mo? Where am I?
It's not Reese Smith Field, is it?
Yeah.
Because anytime you play Chicago, you want to win. That's just
you got that right, and
that's bottom line.
Be a buzz.
When you're walking the dog, you keep the bags that you need for the dog in the bag, and you don't even have to wear it. You can just hold it, which is what I do when I walk the dog. So
I think the fanny pack probably needed a little rebranding.
It did. It really did.
On your show logo, we've got to get a puck in there. There's a basketball. There's a football. There's a baseball. Maybe if not a puck, how about Mo brandishes a hockey stick?
Tune in daily at 2 p.m. on Main Street Media TV.
Top 5 Tuesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by TOA of Columbia, and it is time for Top 5 Tuesday, brought to you by Mid-South 5 Fitness. 2 locations, one in Franklin, one in Columbia. Thalos Steel taking care of you, whatever shape it is you are in, he will get you in a better one. Again, Franklin, Columbia. You can find him at steelathletes.com, STEEL athletes.com. Women's college basketball players, because when you start talking about WNBA, then you've got some international influx there that probably deserves to be included. And to be honest, I'm not as up on the WNBA as I have been on women's college basketball. So we are going to limit it to our top women's college basketball players of all time. So, Wade, the floor is yours.
All right, Mo, since we mentioned women's college basketball, I mean, you kind of go back to the era where that was the only option, right? And Cheryl Miller was the gold standard to start. And it makes you wonder, man, what kind of numbers she could have put up. She did end up in the WNBA as a coach and GM for a couple of years there. But as the only active member, at least currently enshrined in the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame potentially on this list, Cheryl Miller is my number 1 pick.
And a great one it is, as I scratch it off my list.
I mean, there's a few that are definitely going to be.
That are going to be, Are we agreed that Candace Parker is kind of the gold standard since she is the one who kind of prompted this?
That's probably fair.
Okay. All right. My number 1, I would say I'm going to see your Cheryl Miller and raise you. It's not a raise because, again, Cheryl Miller is kind of the gold standard. But I'm going to go with another former Trojan woman, Lisa Leslie. And I really kind of feel like they are 1 and 1A, with all due respect.
No, I mean, fantastic. And one of the first real superstars of the WNBA.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I mean, the league came along at a perfect time to take advantage of women's basketball's popularity, that she had certainly had a hand in raising that profile.
Mm-hmm.
So absolutely. Yeah.
Number 2 for me, bit of a homer pick, but when you grew up in Tennessee and your dad and mom were the biggest Lady Vols fans on the planet, you couldn't go without hearing the name Shamiqua Holtzclaw. And so, I mean, listening to those games every night with mom and dad, eventually watching them on TV as we were able to, was she not one of the greatest?
Try watching her from press row at Thompson Bowling. Yeah. She was the truth. Okay, so you've got Shamiqua. Excuse me. I'm going to take another of the Meeks, Tamika Catchings. She was every bit of what Shamiqua was, and I won't say then some, but she was certainly. Shamiqua was equal in a number of different ways and continued that success at the professional level. So, yeah, Tamika Catchings, my number 2.
Only thing I'll say on that real quick, final SEC media days that Pat Summitt got to go to, it was such a media circus about her and her return, and, really wanted to do that. And I don't know, 20-something years old. I said, I got to ask a question that nobody else is asking. And Tamika Catchings had just been named the WNBA's MVP only a day or 2 before. And Pat looked at me, and it was one of those questions, and I asked it, and I said, I don't know if I should ask that. I mean, everybody's surrounding me. And then she looked at me, and her eyes just melted me, and she just gave the most awesome answer known to man. And everybody else said, I kind of wish I had asked that question.
Mm-hmm.
And she just had that personality. It just made me just warm and welcome. So I'll never forget that moment. Fresh off the heels, you said it best. 2012 champion, 2012 finals player, and obviously one of the elite Lady Vols of all time.
Side note, Pat did that with everybody. I mean, I'm not trying to bust your bubble. I'm not trying to bust your bubble. I'm just saying that that's the way she made everybody feel.
Yeah.
So
would learn that later. That man, she had such a way of welcoming everybody.
Everybody, yeah. You're number two,
All
number
right.
three, excuse me.
So I hyped up the Lady Vols with Shamiqua last round. Let's go to the anti-Lady Vols, and let me get in with Brittany Griner as one of the most dominant women's basketball players at the NCAA level, and just, I mean, making SportsCenter highlights on the regular alone kind of, to me, was that crossover appeal that just made her so special and so fun to watch.
You know, as you have said at various points here over the last few days, sometimes you just got to give the devil his due, or her due, as the case may be.
He's going to do it.
And when Gino Auriemma said, "We've got Diana and you don't," he wasn't lying. Diana Taurasi, I mean, again, she, like her or not, and it typically depends on whether you are a UConn fan or not, she was as good as it got during her run there. So there we go.
Couldn't
get that out of the way.
Yep. Just, we had to have at least one UConn player on this list.
Yeah.
If we were going
for it to be any kind of legitimate, right?
Legit, yeah. So next up on my list, you mentioned Darren Waller earlier, and I'm not going to get into household because there's a lot of speculation on the internet right now, but you can't take anything away from Kelsey Plum, who in more recent years has certainly been one of the most dominant women's college basketball players. And I just had her final career stats pulled up here. Here we go. 23 to 2017, she played 139 games and made 343 three-pointers, 3,527 points. She was just recently eclipsed by Caitlin Clark. And so Kelsey Plum at Washington, number 4 on my list.
Number 4 on my list is a player who doesn't get talked about nearly enough out of the Southeastern Conference. But when she was playing, you didn't want any part of LSU. Simone Augustus. I think she went on to be the number 1 pick overall by the Minnesota Lynx, but she was kind of a mini Chamique Holtzclaw, maybe. I mean, a lot of the same game, so much fun to watch. LSU had a lot of success when she was there, and she was a huge part of it. You're number 5, sir.
We made it to the last round of the list here, and we've scratched off some great ones. I got to go Cheryl Swoops, man. And this is more, and that's why I was glad we asked before, because some of my knowledge of these ladies is definitely more WNBA driven. I just remember as a kid watching her, and she would be on the NBA All-Star Saturday night three-point shooting contest, would be at the half court, the skills contest. I just remember seeing her and was just blown away by her game. So I didn't know much about her as a college player, but I got to assume, even though, she comes out of Texas Tech, I got to assume she was one of the baddest on the block back then in the early 90s.
She absolutely was. And getting that Texas Tech team to, won a national championship in 93, I guess it was. Vanderbilt was at that same Final Four, but she was the absolute truth. Yeah, great call. My number 5, and I hate to go back to Stores, but I'm going to go back to Stores as we wrap this thing up with UConn guard Maya Moore, one of the younger greats. There is our top 5 women's college basketball players. Tomorrow we should be joined by Heather Williams talking a little NASCAR. Come back with us 2 o'clock right here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by TOA of Columbia in the Lee Company Studios. We'll see you then.